what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is a question that in many different forms, different people often ask, both online but also in this room as well. And it's this, the question that was asked that could be from so many of us. The question was, how do you make someone realise they're picking on you and make them stop? I'm fed up of apologising. So let me just say that again, and let's have a think about that together. So how do you make someone understand that they're picking on you and stop? I'm fed up of apologising. So in that question, I hear three different aspects straight away. The first is, how do you make somebody stop picking on you? How do you make somebody stop picking on you? Well, the answer, sadly, the bad news is, you can't. We have no power short of intimidation, violence, whatever else it be, all of which are clearly unacceptable. We have no power whatsoever to make another human being do anything. Not anything. And we often think that because we get into a relationship with someone, we have special rights to change that person, or we have a particular view of how a relationship ought to be, and that it ought to run according to our perceptions and our rules and what our expectations are. So that's just slippy ground, really. It's slippery ground. We can never ever make someone do anything. So we can't make somebody stop picking on us. However, I want to say that if we've reached the point of feeling that we need to ask that question, then it sounds like life is pretty tough. We're pretty unhappy a lot of the time. We feel that the power balance in our relationship is not equal. We're living with someone that we are experiencing as bullying us, picking on us, pushing us around, taking our power away, trying to make us fit in with what they think we ought to be, in exactly the same way as we have expectations of how they ought to be, which is partly stop picking on me. So that's the first bit I wanted to say. We can't ever make someone behave in a way that we demand. We can't make someone change. We can't make someone do anything. And then the second thing is, how do we make them understand that they are picking on us? Even if it's simply our perception, and it can be, because sometimes we are someone who is particularly sensitive, or our confidence is wobbly. We may feel that things that people say to us are something that they're not. So we have to figure in that our perception may be part of this too. However, let's put that aside and let's assume that this person is picking on you. So then it's, how do we make them understand? Well, let's talk first of all about how we don't do it. We don't pick on them and do a tit for tat, because that's just role modelling, that's the way the interactions go in this relationship. They pick on us, we pick on them. We are locked in a power battle, and we've got a private war going on all the time. So that's the first thing we don't do. The second thing is, we don't say, you are making me feel threatened, bad, miserable, unhappy. We don't accuse. We might feel like accusing, and we may feel like that's a perfectly justifiable way to put something. to tell somebody that they are making us feel this way. They are doing this to us. And while that may be understandable, it's actually unhelpful because it doesn't get us a good outcome. Because when we talk to somebody in that way, what they automatically do is become defensive. So their first thought is going to be, no, I'm not. It's you, not me. You're too sensitive. It's the way you're taking it. So it's unhelpful for an outcome that's going to be one that we would like, to accuse somebody. It's far more helpful to explain to somebody and ask them to consider changing their behaviour because of the effect on us. So we don't say you, we say I. We say, I feel intimidated, upset, I don't know, overlooked, whatever it be. I feel that I'm in the wrong all the time. But we say it as I, because actually it is ourselves, it is us that is having those feelings. Nobody has the power to make us feel something without our say-so. As in, I know that's a biggie, but as in, we have the right to give somebody feedback about the way we feel when they behave a certain way, and to ask them to be cooperative, caring, to exercise empathy, to try to understand that that is the effect of that behaviour on us. And therefore, we can ask them if they will change. We can ask them if they will take our feelings into account and change. But we can't make somebody do that. And at the end of the day, it's about our feelings and our feelings in response to that person and that person's behaviour. So we can ask for cooperation. We can't insist on cooperation. We have no power to make someone else change. For anybody who's only just joined, I'm doing the first of a Q&A session in terms of responding to the questions that people have asked from my story. And the one that I'm answering today is, how do I make someone understand that they're picking on me and stop? And the second bit of that was, I'm fed up of apologising. So I've been sharing some thoughts about the fact we can't make another human being do anything. And that all we can do is try to explain to them the effects on us of the way that they behave, and to ask for their cooperation in trying to take that into account and make some changes. So that's as far as we can go. But that doesn't mean that we ourselves are powerless beyond that. So the difficult bit then, supposing we put to the person who we feel or perceive is picking on us, and we ask if they will try to understand how that particular behaviour, which may be picking on, or may just be being blunt or aggressive or not knowing how to put something, we try to explain to them how that behaviour affects us. And we ask them if they will consider changing their behaviour in order that we don't feel that way. And sometimes the other person really has no idea at all what they've been doing. They have no idea of the effects of their behaviour. They don't even know what they're doing. Very often they are just behaving in a way that their parents behaved, or other people that they've grown up with have behaved. And it's just, it's almost an unconscious way of behaving. And very often, when we give that sort of feedback to someone who loves us and cares about us, they can be quite shocked. They can be quite devastated even that a way that they had just automatically been behaving could have that effect on us. And so for someone who loves us and cares about us and is willing to be reflective and is willing to hear feedback, then it's a great way to go about it. So if you feel someone is picking on you or behaving in a way that feels like being picked on, try that first. See if you can give them feedback. And remember, it's not about saying, you make me feel, you do this to me, because they're not setting out intentionally to do that necessarily. They may be, and if they are, we come on to the next point in a minute, but they may not be intentionally setting out to pick on you and hurt you. They may. They may. So let's go on to the next bit of that question, which is, it was, how do I make someone understand that they're picking on me and make them stop? And the second bit was, I'm fed up of apologising. So now we start to think about our bit. What's our part in this? What does it say to the other person if we are constantly apologising? What does that say? Well, it says, you're right. It says, no, I'm in the wrong. I deserve to be picked on. I was doing something wrong. And so how does that get to a point where we stop the other person, or at least persuade the other person to consider that they could behave in a different way? And that's where our power lies. Our power lies not in making the other person change. We can ask for cooperation, but we can't make somebody change. But our power lies in our changing. Because when we change, everybody around us has to change too, because the old ways don't work. If someone has been picking on us and our behaviour changes, then they have to rethink theirs, because the power balance has changed. And this is all about power balance, and it's all about how we use our power. So our power lies in our behaviour, and our power lies in our perception of things and what we tell ourselves. So I would want to say, why are you apologising to someone who is picking on you? Why would you do that? Why would you give your power away? Why would you confirm to them that you are up for being picked on? What is that? Is that about wanting to keep the peace? Is that about hating conflict? Is that about being so terrified that they will leave you that you have to just go along with it and take it? Is it that you have such a struggle to believe in yourself and what your own perceptions are telling you, that they must be right? These are really important questions. Why, if we feel that someone is picking on us, would we apologise? Why would we do that? And so that's the bit that's worth thinking about. That's the bit. How do we change that bit? Because while we keep apologising, we are contributing to feeling shitty in the way that we do. While we keep apologising, we are saying, essentially, this is okay. This is okay with me, and I deserve it. And I'll show you that I deserve it because I'm going to say sorry. So that's to think about. First thing is, stop saying sorry. Stop saying sorry. Think about what else you could say instead. Give feedback. Don't say sorry. Give feedback. Say something like, wow, that hurt. Or say something like, was that necessary? Or, I wonder how that's helpful. Or, I wonder what we're going to gain if we talk about it in this way. If you've got something to ask me to do, please ask in a respectful way, and I will consider whether I'm willing to do that or not. But I will not respond to aggression, and I will not respond to that kind of behaviour where you are demonstrating to me that you don't respect me, you think it's okay to talk to me that way, you think it's okay to behave towards me that way. This ends. This ends. We need to do this differently. And then there are choices. And these are big choices, because very often people sit in this room and tell me that a situation like this is going on, and they look at me as if there's nothing they can do. They say, and you know, I'm just stuck here. I'm just stuck here and I have to put up with it. And my answer is usually, are you? Is it true that there are no choices? Or is it more true that there are choices that you don't really want to take? Because that's a different thing. That's an entirely different thing. So if we are with someone who is picking on us, putting us down, pushing us around, making us feel bad about ourselves, and gradually chipping away at our self-confidence, then it becomes increasingly hard over time to feel that we can have any power to do anything about that. But the greatest power we've got, and I know it's complicated, I know it's not straightforward, I know it comes with lots of risks and sacrifices, but the ultimate power we have is to leave. The ultimate power we have is to give that person a choice. To say, I cannot live in this way, and things have to change, or I cannot stay. And I'm handing that over to you. I'm handing that over to you to choose. Because if I'm to stay, then this needs to stop. If I'm to stay, this needs to stop. And I just want to say, I can see a number of people asking if they can split screen with me and share this video time with me. And I think the offer I want to make is that I will put up a post asking that if anybody would like to do a shared session with me live, then I would happily do that. I would give that time, but I'm not going to interrupt this to do that. I would set that up separately with you. So if you would like to do that and you're willing to do that live, I'm happy to do that, but direct message me and we can set something up. But one of the points that someone has made, which is valid, is they're saying, but this person loves me. This person loves me, and they're critical of themselves as well. Okay, well, A, to pick on somebody is not love. Sorry, it isn't love. It's need. It's control. When we love somebody, we don't do that, so let's not call that love. Let's not get mixed up between love and need. One of the ways that someone who is needy controls us is to pick on us and criticise us. And if someone feels bad about themselves and are critical of themselves as well, then they're very often more likely to criticise us, because the fact that they feel so bad about themselves means that unless they make us feel crap about ourselves as well, we might leave. So let's not get hoodwinked by this word love. Let's not trust the word. Let's trust the behaviour. And no, I'm seeing on the screen, not everyone who behaves inappropriately, inconsiderately, or in a bullying manner They are not a bad person, but they are displaying pretty bad behaviour, and that really doesn't make it okay. If they need to go get help, if they need to go talk with someone like me, make them do it. Make that a condition of you staying. Take some power back. The thing that is coming out of this entire session for me is we don't have to believe what someone else says. We are the boss of us. We know ourselves. We get to decide. So just because someone says they love us doesn't mean they do. Trust what you see. Let it inform you. We don't have to just believe what someone else says because they say it. And I go back to that point about if someone feels bad about themselves and their only way of believing they can keep us is by making us feel bad about ourselves and by making us feel shitty, that is not love. That is not love. It's someone who doesn't yet know how to love. It's someone who needs to go and talk it out and get some therapy. Because those issues, until they are dealt with, they're going to keep hanging around. And sometimes two people can't work that out in a relationship between them. Because here's the other bad news, good news, neutral news, don't know what you want to call it, but here's the other thing that as a therapist, I know, because I see it all the time when I work with couples, we are so often drawn, particularly in a first relationship, sometimes a second, we are drawn to someone who exhibits either our own broken bits or something that is reflective of ways that we have grown up, people that we have known, considerably influential people in our life. And years ago, I was director of a psychotherapy training in Leicester University, and one of the exercises that we used to put new students in, almost at the beginning, was we would ask them to wander around in a room and give eye contact to various people that they felt drawn to give eye contact to. And then at one point we would say, okay, now stop and approach somebody that you felt a connection with and go and sit down somewhere privately and share your histories. Share a bit about who you are, a bit about how you react to things, a bit about how you see the world. And in every single case, they had overlapping histories. They had similarities. And everybody was incredibly shocked that we would, just by looking someone in the eyes, know that we had a familiarity, something similar, and something that we could read in the eyes that didn't need to be spoken. And that's what happens often in first relationships. There is that kind of contact. There's a connection in the eyes, and we are drawn to someone who has overlapping issues. And so we either work our issues out with that person, or they come to the surface and we get to be able to notice them, observe them, reflect on them, and know we need to go do some work. And when we do that and we get into another relationship, we do it in a more informed and aware way. And we're far more likely to have success in that relationship. So that's also an issue where we find that we want to keep defending the person who is behaving badly towards us. So let's think about why we do that. We want to defend that person. We want to keep saying, oh, but that's all they know. Oh, that his parents treat him that way, so of course that's the way he behaves. I say again, does that make it okay? Does that mean that just because it's all he knows, and just because that's the way his mum or dad treats him, does that mean we have to be putting up with that next generation down? Does that mean that we have to be the person who allows them to just carry on in that same old way and do it to us? And probably to our children as well. Let's be clear. They won't just be doing it to us, they'll be doing it to our children as well. So do we have to do that, or does it stop with us? Does it stop with us? Does it stop with us before it touches our children? So I would also say, go back to consequences. Don't believe the excuse. Sorry, it's an excuse. It's an excuse unless someone's willing to go get help and work on it. And then we may well be willing to be supportive through that in the knowledge that they are getting some help. But if someone won't get help, if someone just wants to stay in that place of justification, which is that's how they treated me. So I'm the powerful one now. You know, I was the one that didn't have power and they pushed me around. But I'm a grown-up now. I'm tall. So it's my turn to have the power now. So, sorry, you're me now and I'm going to push you around because I'm the one who wants his own back. And I know when I put it like that, it sounds unthinkable, but it's because I'm talking about the unconscious underneath the conscious. Of course no one is going to say, I'm doing this on purpose to you. And of course you're not going to want to believe, ever, that they're doing it on purpose to you. However, when we factor in the unconscious, and that when we've known something that has hurt us, caused us pain, been difficult, and that the way that gets acted out is we repeat it until we become aware of it, and then when we're aware of it, we reflect on it, and hopefully we change. But until that point, we are a loose cannon. And the only power you have in the face of that is to ask for cooperation. And then talk consequences if there is no cooperation. Because that's the power you do have. And so sometimes we say, well, he can't change. How do I make him change? How do I get through to him? How do I make him understand? And I want to say to you, well, how many times are you going to try? Set yourself a limit. Is that forever? Are you going to do that endlessly forever? Is that going to be your life and your children's life? Or are you going to say, okay, this does need to change. I cannot live like this. Go get yourself some help. Or try to understand what I'm giving you feedback on and care about me enough to do something about it and work with me. Let's make this something that we turn around. But you got 6 months. You got 6 months. Or I'm not going to have children with you while it's like this because you'll do this to them. Stand in your power. Stand in your power. Stand tall. Just because someone said it does not make it true. Just because someone says, I can't change, you do not have to accept it. You do not have to let it be a life sentence. You do not have to put up with that forever. That's a choice. Yeah, someone has just said, don't silence the internal voice. That is so true. We all have an internal voice. We have a voice. We call it by many things. We call it our intuition, our gut feeling, our internal voice. But it is our essence, and it is never wrong. It's never wrong. Don't override it. Don't override it because you're feeling this is not okay, but someone else is telling you they can't change and you have to put up with it. Don't silence that voice. The minute we start to override our internal voice, we are giving someone else power over us. We are giving our power away. How can that be okay? How can we live like that? And, okay, someone else has said, how do you get over the fear of losing all the good things by leaving them because of a few negative things? Oh, gosh, there's lots in that. There's lots about fear. There's lots about fear. Fear is not meant to be stayed in. Fear is telling us we need to do something. And fear usually means we've got to make a decision. And fear usually means we've got to make a plan. So again, we weigh it up. If we decide that we are prepared to live with the behaviour because of all the nice things we've got, then that's our choice. But if you make the choice, do not complain. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Either you say, I cannot live like this, and I've got to make a plan to get out of this, and I know that I'm resourceful and resilient, and I will get out, and there will be good people around me to help me. Either you say that, or you say, I am too frightened, and I like these home comforts and good stuff too much to let this go. So I am prepared to put up with this behaviour, because that's essentially what that choice means. And that is fine, because no one has the right to judge you. You are your own person, on your own path, on your own journey. Nobody has lived your life, nobody's inside your head or in your heart. It is your right to make that choice. But if you make it, know that it's a choice. Don't make the choice and then complain. Don't make the choice and then complain to all your friends and your relatives that he is treating you terribly. But equally, don't make the choice and then pretend. Don't pretend it's all rosy and be on your own with it. That's the other thing we do. Partly because we're frightened to leave, but also partly the shame of knowing that if other people knew how this person treated us, they would be shocked that we were still there. There's lots of reasons that make us not leave. And it's fine to take that decision. I and no one else have any right to have an opinion on that. I could have an opinion on it if it were me, but I have no right to have an opinion on it for you. But I do say to you, if you make the decision to stay, don't then complain. Don't then complain. And don't lose yourself. Nothing is more precious than our true self and our essence. When we crush that, when we subdue it, when we override it, and we stop listening and silence it, we are less than who we could be. And we are fundamentally not happy. We're not happy because we don't know the freedom of being ourselves. And I guess I think that's the bit that I would want to say out of all of this is, whatever happens, and whoever asked this, my goodness, thank you for it, because I know that lots of fruitful thoughts will come from this discussion and the things that we've been thinking about together. But the main thing that I would urge is, don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself or disempower yourself for someone else. And don't lose yourself by believing what someone else says if your inner voice says it's not true. If someone says they love you, but they want to know where you're going, who you're talking to, won't let you go out, complain that you don't spend enough time with them, and keep picking on you and crushing you and bringing you down, that is not love. That is not love, that is need. That is need. And to live with someone who needs you but doesn't love you is the most miserable thing. Is the most miserable thing. Don't let that be you. So I'm going to repeat the question. I'm going to repeat the question that I've been talking about today. The question was, how do you make someone understand that they're picking on you? And how do you make them stop? I am fed up of apologising. And these really have been thoughts about, can someone change? Do you have the right to ask them to consider you and the effect on you, and to consider changing your behaviour? Do you have the right to judge for yourself whether what they say is true and accurate? Do you have to put up with someone's behaviour just because that's all they know, or that's what they saw their parents do? Do you have to put up with it for that reason? Does it have to go down another generation to your kids? Do they not have a responsibility to fix that? Go and do some personal work? Go and get some help? And why are you staying? And weigh that up. And if you're staying because there's more good than bad, then know that that's a decision that is your responsibility, and don't complain. And if you're staying because you're ashamed of how people will see you when you come out and say what's been going on, there is no shame in that. There is only courage and bravery. You stand up tall. The courage to walk away is huge, deep bow to you. This is your life. This is your journey. This is your path. Yours alone. Don't let someone else take that away from you. Don't give your power away. Don't silence your inner voice. Don't crush your essence. You came to live this life fully. You came here to be free. You came here to be free. Give yourself that gift. And whether you stay or whether you leave, give yourself that gift. The gift to be free. If you stay, give yourself the gift to be free, to say it's not okay, to ask for change, to change your own behaviour so that the other person can't behave in that way anymore. And if you leave, know that it is the bravest thing, and that we will all be cheering you on. Several people, as I've been talking, and I've seen the comments going up the screen, several people have asked to join this video. And I just want to repeat what I said a little bit earlier, which is I am really happy to do a split screen session with someone. I'm really happy to give you that time live, but it has to be that you direct message me and you ask for that time, and we have the opportunity to chat a little. And then we'll set it up. Very, very happy to do that, but direct message me. I cannot bring someone in suddenly in the middle of a talk like this, because that isn't what the talk is for. The talk is to answer someone's question. So please direct message me if you would like that different kind of going live session, and I will happily set that up with you. So I want to say again, don't give your power away. Don't crush your essence. Don't silence your inner voice. Nothing is more important than that you be free. And that choice and that decision is yours and yours alone. May you be blessed. Thanks for today.